So, you're the big war hero? The judge's voice dripped with sarcasm as she adjusted her glasses. You old black veterans used to have a decency to dress for court. Chuckles echoed around the courtroom. James Joyo stood tall despite his worn-out military jacket and scuffed boots. His Medal of Valor, the one he'd earned in a desert half a world away, rested in his inner pocket. Looks more like a homeless man than a soldier, the judge added, flipping through a folder. Illegal parking outside a bar? It was a veteran's center, James replied, voice steady. I was delivering medication. I had a temporary permit. The judge gave a short, mocking laugh. Permit? All I see is another black man crying victim. Anything else in your defense? Or do we give you another medal for reading signs? James clenched the sides of the witness stand. Check the security footage. The permit was on the dashboard. Oh, here we go with the footage. Always some excuse. Body cams, store cams. Never just accountability. A white juror smirked. The court clerk, Warren, leaned in toward the judge. They think being in the Army makes them saints. Always expecting handouts. The judge chuckled. Maybe if you'd studied the law instead of firing rifles, you'd understand how things work in here. James swallowed his fury. He'd faced gunfire. He'd buried friends. But the contempt in this courtroom was worse. I'm only asking for due process, he said. The judge waved him off. Where'd you learn that term in a foxhole? This isn't your war zone, soldier. This is my courtroom. More laughter followed. Just then, a young black female officer approached the bench quietly, handing the judge a document. James gave her a small, thankful nod. What's this? The judge snapped. Requested registration copy, Your Honor. She barely glanced at it before tossing it aside. Fined, $2,500. Marked as repeat offender. Next case. James didn't flinch. You people should be grateful we let you walk through the same front door, Warren muttered as he handed over a paper to sign. The judge didn't object. She smirked. James pulled out his phone. No phones in my courtroom, she barked. This isn't your ghetto. What are you going to do? Warren sneered. Call your old Army buddies? James looked up, calm but firm. Just one call. The judge raised an eyebrow. You've got 30 seconds. Call your mama or your dog. Doesn't matter to me. James dialed. Silence blanketed the courtroom. He said nothing, just listened. Then slowly, he ended the call. That's it, the judge mocked. Officer Rios seized the phone. James handed it over without argument. All yours. Sanction stands, she said, relaxing in her chair. You're dismissed. Aren't you going to view the footage? James asked. I'll get to it right after I handle the other 400 cases. You're not special. James didn't reply, but his eyes held something firm, something final. The courtroom doors creaked open. A tall man in a dark gray suit stepped in, flanked by 2 aides and a security guard. His presence shifted the air. The judge stiffened. This courtroom is in session. Who do you think? The man ignored her, walking straight toward James. Mr. Joyo, he said, voice smooth, respectful. Thank you for taking my call. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Warren dropped his pen. Who the hell are you? The judge demanded. The man reached into his coat and produced a badge, gold, official, gleaming. Mayor Thomas Brennan. This courthouse falls under my office's oversight. You can't interfere with court proceedings. You're second from a decision that's not just legally reckless, but morally corrupt, he said coldly. The judge tried to regain control. I don't answer to, but the mayor raised a hand, cutting her off. You will today. He turned to the bailiff. Secure the courtroom. No one leaves. Warren stood up quickly. This is outrageous. The mayor looked at him with mild amusement. You must be Warren. Warren sat down. Your Honor, the mayor said, tone sharper now. You ignored verified documentation, mocked a decorated veteran, allowed racist commentary to go unchecked. You denied due process. You're twisting things, the judge blurted. This is all procedure. Procedure? The mayor's voice hardened. You've twisted the law into a tool of humiliation. That ends now. He turned to the young black officer who had handed over the document earlier. Officer Grant, he said, bring in the evidence team. Have them set up the courtroom monitor. James's eyes didn't move from the judge. He said nothing. Footsteps echoed down the corridor as more officials arrived. The judge's hands trembled slightly. This is highly irregular. The doors opened wider. And then, you publicly humiliated a decorated veteran for a minor infraction without reviewing evidence, and with comments that bordered on racial hatred, Mayor Thomas Brennan said, his voice echoing in the courtroom. The room fell completely silent, every eye fixed on a judge. And do you know what's most ironic? Brennan continued, turning to the crowd. This man you dared to ridicule, treated like he was worthless, he saved my mother's life. He faced the judge again, unwavering. 20 years ago in Candajar, there was an ambush. My mother, a civilian nurse, was caught in the crossfire. While others dove to the ground, James Joy White ran toward her, shielding her with his body and dragging her out, even as bullets flew. He took 2 shots to the leg that day. He never asked for anything in return, not a medal, not recognition, just kept serving. The judge avoided his gaze, mumbling, "I didn't know. I wasn't aware." "Exactly," Brennan said sharply. "You didn't bother to find out. You judged him by his skin, his clothes, and you treated him like trash, like too many in power do. The evidence is on your desk. The parking permit, the security footage. All ignored." He turned to the officer who held James's phone. "Return the phone to Mr. Joyo." The officer stepped forward, bowed slightly, and handed the phone back. The judge stood, trembling. "Mr. Mayor, this is a disrespect to the judicial system." "No, Judge Campbell," Brennan replied coldly. "This is disrespect to a nation he swore to protect. You will be suspended immediately and face formal misconduct charges." A judicial officer stepped up. "Do you want escort, Your Honor?" Without a word, Judge Campbell gathered her things and left through the back door, her arrogance gone. The courtroom exhaled collectively. Mayor Brennan approached James. "I can't undo what happened today, but I can make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else." James extended his hand. The mayor shook it firmly. The room filled with tentative applause, then more confident, some standing. Not for the mayor, but for James Joy White. 2 weeks later, the hearing video went viral. Captured by an assistant, it showed the judge's condescension, Warren's racist comments, and the mayor's dramatic intervention. The hashtag Justice for James trended worldwide. People everywhere were moved by the image of an older veteran humiliated unjustly and defended by a powerful leader. Judge Campbell was removed immediately. The State Judicial Commission launched an investigation for abuse of power and racial discrimination. Warren resigned amid the scandal. His excuses fell on deaf ears. His recorded words were damning. James received a public apology from the city council at a ceremony. Wearing the same patched jacket from the hearing, he spoke simply, "I don't want to be a symbol. I want the next man like me who enters a courtroom to be looked at in the eyes, not judged by his skin." The silence was more powerful than applause. The Veteran Center where it all began was renamed the James Joy White Community Center. Children, elderly, homeless veterans, everyone called it just James. No, sir, no, Sergeant. Just James, like a friend who had always been there, even when the system wasn't. Judge Campbell avoided cameras, later denying accusations of racism. But her words had lost all power. The recordings told the truth. Her downfall became a warning. Unchecked power corrupts absolutely. Mayor Brennan pushed for reforms, mandatory racial bias training, citizen oversight in hearings, protocols preventing sanctions without evidence review. At a press conference, he said, "If a man like James can endure such injustice silently, we have a duty to shout for him." James returned to his quiet life. One afternoon, a 9-year-old girl approached him at the community center. "Are you the man who made the bad judge cry?" James smiled, crouching down to her height. "No, little one. I just reminded her we all deserve respect. If you believe justice shouldn't depend on skin color, a uniform, or power, share this story. Sometimes all it takes to change the world is one call." Months later, Warren appeared in a leaked video, apologizing. "I've learned my lesson." But for many, the pain his words caused lingered. The community center expanded, offering free legal aid, therapy for veterans, and youth programs. Above the entrance was a phrase, "Here, We don't ask for respect. We teach it. A year later, on Veterans Day, James was invited to raise the flag at the state capitol. Thousands stood, including officers, senators, and young people wearing shirts reading Heroes in War and Peace. When a reporter asked if he wanted to convince skeptics who said his story was exaggerated, James looked up and replied, "I'm not here to convince anyone. I just want the next man who stands before a judge to hold his dignity openly, not tucked away. If you believe justice shouldn't depend on skin color, the uniform, or power, share this story. Because sometimes all it takes to change the world is one call." Sked eyes wide.